Hi, everyone. As promised, I'm here with Amy Stone, and we are talking about how to adult. She's the creator of the Art of Perfect Adulting. And boy, we all need to know that, right? No matter how adult we think we are, there's always some improvement. So, welcome to the show, Amy.
Thank you so much for having me, Kathy. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. So you have a great background. Talk to me about how you learned how to adult. What's the beginning of that whole process?
So I love this question. I like to say that I have experience, as everybody has, and my experience is only, my own. But my line is that I learned how to be adult. My skills were forged in the fire of life, as everyone's are. And so that there is this idea that I at least had when I was younger that I was supposed to already know how to do a lot of these things or know what was coming next. Shockingly, newsflash, I have been surprised over and over again, all the way through. And somewhere along the line, I sort of realized I was like, you know what? Maybe I'm not supposed to know all these things. Maybe the skills that I really have that are helping me get through this are the tenacity to believe in myself and my faith that I'm going to figure it out, my ability to not take myself too seriously, and to surround myself with other people who have different experiences and different skills who can help me get through the things that I don't know how to do.
Yeah, I love that. The fact that, yeah, we think we're supposed to know everything. And what's ironic about that is like the 17 and 18-year-old selves, we thought we did.
Yeah, all the way, I would say all the way up to 25. I had all the confidence that you can only have when you are that age. Like, sure, what could go wrong? No problem.
Exactly. And even if it does, it doesn't matter. Yeah, right. We
Exactly.
don't future pace on that. I think that imperfect adulting is not future pacing actually, and stop future pacing. We don't need to go there to the doom and gloom, or sometimes we do with worry, right?
I think sometimes it's unavoidable. I even think that sometimes running a worst case scenario can be helpful in lowering an anxiety level. If you really are catastrophizing, like how likely is it going to be that XYZ is going to happen? Sometimes it can be scary, but at the other time, sometimes it's like, hey, if this happens, if I fall off my bike, what am I going to do? If I get a flat tire on this road trip, what am I going to do? Like, so sometimes it can be helpful, but never ever if I get caught in that loop where I can't get through it, do I find that to be a helpful thing. But yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
I agree. It's like when you run the scenario of what's the worst thing that could happen, that's generally not actually the worst thing that could happen. It's always something you can get through for sure.
Yes.
Now,
Yes.
I love this step parent success school. Let's talk about that a little bit.
You bet.
What happened with that? Obviously, you must be a step parent.
I
So,
am a step parent. My stepkids are grown. I was a step parent before I was a parent. So I dated, fell in love, married someone who already had kids. They were 4 and 8 when I met them. They are now both in their 30s. So I've been a step parent for a very long time. We talked about the confidence that you have when you're young. When I started my role as a step parent, which is a famously hard job. I had blind faith and confidence that I was going to be able to pull this off. My just gut feeling was, I'm nice. They're nice. What could go wrong? So many things, Kathy. So many things. And what I came to learn is that it's even though it's estimated that 4 out of 10 adults will be in a position that they will consider themselves a step parent or a bonus parent at some point in their life. It is amazingly unsupported. It is hard to find people who will help you. There's a lot. I mean, this is true of a lot of things in adulting and specifically within families. You can find yourself asking people for support who have a lot of judgment. They make assumptions about what you are. It's a tough thing to figure out. And because of that, when I got into the position 20 years later and somebody said, hey, what's something that you can help people with? I was like, oh, well, this is a thing that people ask me about a lot. Like, how did I make it through? How did I manage to be in that role that is so famously challenging? And the answer is because I'm perfect. No, I'm just kidding. So I'm more than happy to share. I'm more than happy to share the challenges I had and the mistakes I made, and then how we worked through it. My stepkids do both still speak to me, like we have a decent relationship. I added 2 more kids to the family very quickly, which will surprise no one that made nothing easier. Nothing, no, made
Right.
everything much more complicated. Yep.
So you had a 4-year-old and an 8-year-old, and then you came along two more.
Two more. So a total of four in this house. There were two. My husband's ex also had two more kids. So my stepkids are two of six. The two youngest in my house are two of four. We needed a lot of extra tickets for many, many graduations for a lot of years.
Obviously, and a lot of extra cash. I am sure of that.
Yeah,
That's a lot of mouths to feed and a lot of varsity and all that extra stuff that kiddos like to do. Yeah,
it was a very complicated season for a very, very long time.
yeah, absolutely. So I love the success school. Is that something that people can join, or how does that work? If people
Yeah.
step parents or newly step parents, or they still can't figure it out, what happens with what you're doing with this?
So Stepparent Success School is completely self-enclosed. I'm happy to work with step parents as a one-on-one coach, which is, there's never going to be a situation where I would talk to a step parent and turn them away for assistance. But the truth is that when step parents come to me, it's not a topic that people really initially want to talk to a stranger about. And so that was something I grappled with all the way through. I always had in my mind the reality of me as a young step parent. When I was questioning my life choices was often on like a Saturday afternoon or a Tuesday night at 11 p.m., sitting
Yeah.
on the floor of my closet, sitting in the car in my driveway, questioning my life choices. And so, as I built a collection of tools and skills that I was able to really teach people that were translatable and easily, I was repeating them a lot. I put them together into an online course. And so, Step Parent Success School is something that people can come in, they can purchase it's videos and worksheets and emails that come to me, and a way to reach me for follow up. And they can stream it and get all of these things on their own. I built it based on, I took a training on how to do premarital coaching. And so that's the framework. And then I updated it with the realities of a complex family, the potential of other extra people that are there, and all the things that come with step parenting.
Wow, that's amazing. I mean, it's similar to what I did my online course. It's like all the things that people ask you, right? That's what we do
Yes.
for entrepreneurs. So if you're listening as an entrepreneur, even if you don't have step kids or you think you're adulting, think about what people ask you all the time and what your skill set is, and you can create courses around that. I did that with Home Organizing Made Simple, with Home Office Organization. You did that with the Step Parent Success School. That what people are asking us is what you can bring forth in the world as far as your gift. So I think that's
Yes.
awesome, Amy. And they can go through the course and then they're like, but what about this or what about this? And then they
Exactly.
do for one-on-one once they understand what they don't know.
What
That's
they
what I tell
don't
people.
know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I tell people with the home organizing course. Like, go through it and then you'll understand what you don't quite understand. Then it's really appropriate to do one-on-ones because you have really succinct questions about your specific challenges.
Absolutely. And the big challenge with one-on-one work is really getting the two calendars together. So having something that people can just download and get, it's not the same, not at all. I do my very, very best to make it, as comprehensive as possible. It's not the same in that respect, but you don't need to fit into my timetable. So like you can be in Australia and I'm in Miami, and you can get those things. And then if you have a follow-up question, you can email and we can do things like that. And so that's the reason it was important to me to try and be able to get it to a place where it was that. There's also I'll use the word privacy, but privacy is not exactly the right word. But it's reassuring and nice to have somebody. Sometimes, most of the time, when step parents reach out to me, I'm the first person that they're telling they're struggling. They've been keeping it inside for a very long time. It's a
Mhm.
really actually a big reach. People don't like to raise their hand and say, "Hi, I'm really struggling to get along with these kids, and it probably is me, or I made this major life commitment, and I think I made the wrong decision." And so, creating a way where they can hear me supportively talk about the situation, share stories from myself and other clients so that they feel less alone. I think that that has a place also. So you can do that within the privacy of your earbuds, wherever you are. And then once you have gone through that sort of deconstruction, and then you say, oh, okay, then now I'm ready to talk to somebody specifically about this. I'm not embarrassed. I'm not ashamed. I know that there's lots of people out there going through the same thing. And here's where I'm struggling, because the struggles that step parents go through, they're both simultaneously unique and the exact same as other situations, right? So the struggles that I went through as a step parent in a big, busy family, keeping myself organized and things like that, they had some unique things because I was a step parent. But I learned a lot of things from people who were not step parents. How to organize family meals for a big family that sometimes shifted at the last minute. So it might be 8 people, it might be 10 people, it might be 4 people. You've got kids in high school and they show up and they're like, "Hey, I've got 3 extra people. Is there extra food?" Or at the last minute, they're like, "So sorry, I know that dinner's usually at 7, but I'm going to the mall." It's like those kind of things, and learning how to navigate that kind of stuff that's not always specific to a step parent.
Yeah, I get it. And I so appreciate every time I do these podcasts, I learn that as entrepreneurs, we have so many commonalities
Yeah.
with what we do and why we do it. It's the same thing with people that want to get organized. They don't want to say, I can't really get organized. I'm done. Does that half the time people don't want to say that, just like I
Yes.
don't feel like I'm being a good step parent. But then once you dig into it and see that other people are having the same issues, it helps a lot. And
Yeah.
that's why we do online courses. I mean, quite honestly. So
Yep.
tell me, Amy, have you been an entrepreneur for many years, or how did this come about? When did you start?
I have been an entrepreneur pretty much for about 20 years. For about 20 years. The first business that I started was right when I came home from my kids to have kids. I owned a portrait studio here in Miami for about 10 years. And then I closed that because the portrait industry changed. And that's like one of those fun things where that was like legitimately a very organic, spontaneous business. My degree is in photography. That's what I studied in school.
Yeah.
So, and I worked as a freelance photographer. I thought I was going to work for a newspaper, but that business, it was not viable when I graduated, in my opinion. And so, but when I was having kids, I bought myself a new camera. I was taking pictures of my own kids, and other people were like, "Hey, will you take a picture of my kids?" And I was like, "Sure." And within 6 months, I had a brick and mortar store and other people working for me. And so that was a beautiful, wonderful entrepreneurial experience. I loved it. It was an industry I knew and understood from the ground up. Closing it was hard. It was absolutely the best thing to do because the industry shifted, and I would not, it would have collapsed under the weight of itself if I had not closed it on my own terms. And then though I retooled and went into coaching. And so it wasn't an immediate thing. It took a little while, but now I call this the rule of 35, which the 35 is how old you are. And
Okay.
it's not like a rule, but it's like a little bit of a joke. But it's like whatever your hobbies or your skill set is when you're 35 years old, people are going to offer to put you in a leadership training position for that. So if you're in an office, you might be stepping into a mid-level management thing. If you work in a bank, you might be training. If you work in HR, you might step into training. But it's also, that's when we become yoga instructors and Pilates instructors and running instructors, all of these things. And it's like whatever your strengths are, like you were saying, whatever the thing is you know how to do, that's right around the time that you're like, sure, I'll do that. I'll show other people how to do it. And that's also when my life shifted and I stepped into coaching.
That's interesting. The rule of 35. It's true. I mean, by then we're kind of like, oh, this is what I like. This is what I love. And the ultimate job to create for yourself, a career to create for yourself, is one that you love anyhow. And that I always say, whatever you can do standing on your head asleep is like that's your God gift, right? So if you can
Sure.
figure out how to do that and make money at it, then you're on the right track. And then you're doing what I would call your dharma, right? You're doing kind of what
Yes.
naturally born to do. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, that's interesting. I love that conversation. This is good. So what's a lesson that your business has taught you as a coach? That what's the number one like takeaway that you've learned after coaching clients for years?
Oh, the number one takeaway. The number one takeaway that I've learned as a coach is that almost always the first thing that people bring up is not actually what they're gonna need help with.
Bingo.
And I think that's true outside of coaching too. And so it takes some time to have the experience as a coach to allow the conversation and to ask the right questions to figure out what is the issue behind the issue. And that's very nuanced. I mean, sometimes, and it goes both ways, right? It goes both ways. Sometimes it becomes a deeper issue. Somebody will say, my problem is this, and then you talk about it for a while and you find out it's something deeper. And other times people think they have a very complicated issue, and it is a logistics situation. So one of my favorite stories about working with a family is I was working with a very, very big, complicated blended family with, there were 8 people in one house, and they were very well supported. They had therapists and doctors and all of these things going on, all lots and lots of help, and we were working together for a while. And they thought that they were coming to me to talk for strategies for talking with the kids about the chore schedule. So they thought it was a communication issue. And the thing is that they had a laundry schedule and people were not sticking to the laundry schedule. So they're telling me this and they're telling me all the things they've tried and all the other people they've talked to, and they're working with all of these things. And meanwhile, I am like looking down and I'm making notes. And I just said, I was like, I don't know. I don't think there's enough time in the day for all of you guys to do laundry with one machine. Like, I was like, there's too many people. And who wants to be assigned in laundry time at 1 a.m? And
Right,
I was
right.
just like, so can we send some of this out? Can we do these things? It was throwing just all kind of like, this is a resource issue as far as I can see. And then I said, I mean, is there any way you guys could install like another washer and dryer? And their eyes just lit up and they're like, sure, we could put another washer and dryer in another place. And this became like a hilarious thing. They were like, you should get a commission from Home Depot, like it was a really funny thing. And they just thought it was hilarious because they had talked to other people about this. They had charts and conversation flow and how
Right.
to talk without this. And I was like, I think you need more machines. And then when they went to their kids with this, and their kids ranged from 6 months to 25 years old or 21, and they had been fighting about this for a long time amongst each other, the adults and the kids on kids, all of these things. And when they walked in, they're like, hey, and these issues in families are complex. And so like conversations and arguments will flow from day to day. They go on and on. So they
Right.
called a family meeting and the kids were ready to pounce. They were, ready to rumble. And they're like, we're going to get another washer and dryer. And the dad was like, it was like party time. Everybody was like, what? That's the greatest, So sometimes it's just as simple as an outsider saying, hey, this
Right.
is impossible.
Right, right. Yeah, I run into that all the time. The moms who are stay-at-home moms and the laundry's a big deal and
Yes.
there's so much laundry to do. And it's either wash or dried and on the dining room table and not folded, or it's folded but not put away. The whole process of going from the dirty, actually getting into the dirty laundry, then going
Yep.
to the washing machine, then the dryer, then the fold, then the drawers is a big, huge deal.
Huge.
I often will tell my clients to job it out, like take it to the fluff and fold. Don't worry about, you don't have to be the perfect mom that does every single piece of laundry, just fluff and fold
Yep.
it, outsource that puppy, or have your house cleaner pay her a
Yep.
little bit extra to do the laundry while she's there. I mean, there's all sorts of, things, but I can see with your people, with 8 people in the family, yeah, I can see how they couldn't see
Yeah.
they couldn't see it. They couldn't see
Yeah.
the trick.
Oh, yeah. I can't even imagine. I mean, in any shared, can you imagine? You got 8 people and, you go in and somebody's stuff is still in the washer and all these things. I mean, yeah, no, just, I am sure that, yeah, no. And after that, I've talked to other people who have big families that are not even blended families. And they're like, yeah, right at about 6 kids, that's where you run out of space and you got to look to add in additional machines. So
Oh, that's a good rule. Okay, if you have
I
more
didn't know that. Yeah. Yeah,
kids,
exactly.
you need a new machine, or you need an extra. I mean, I have an extra large one, and I just love it. And I only have 2 people in my household. The extra
Yeah.
large, it's great. I only have to do 2 loads a week, because it's gigantic. So it's brilliant.
There you go.
But that's a
There
good
you go.
rule of thumb. Anytime over 6 kids or more, buy an extra machine. I love that.
Yep.
That's so cool. Okay, so that was a good story. What's the most memorable what do you remember? What's a good story that you remember that's really memorable that will always stick in your mind, like your clients or maybe yourself going through the journey of entrepreneurship? What do you have to say?
A memorable story for me from entrepreneurship. Oh
Yeah.
goodness. That I don't even know where to start. So the I think that's well, I don't even give me a hint. Give me a hint to
Okay.
something that you'd like to hear. Like so, I guess here's one that with step parenting that I'll share because one of the things that with entrepreneurship when you first, especially service-based entrepreneurship, is how are you going to find the people who you're going to work with when you start talking about yourself being in business and put yourself in a spot where people can hire you. And so when I launched the coaching stuff, we had already started working remotely and doing a lot of things on Zoom. And so I was very focused in connecting in online ways. But then, not even kidding, I was at a parent event at one of my kids' school. I don't remember which one. And I was introducing myself to someone and I screwed up my courage and I was like, yes, I am going to mentor and coach step parents. And somebody that wasn't even in the conversation tapped me on my shoulder and was like, hey, did I hear that you just said you work with step parents? And I was like, yes. This is like the third time I've said it out loud, but yes, and they were like, oh, I'd love to talk to you about that more. And that was a person that I worked with. And so I remember that because it was really reassuring. It was like, you just got to tell people, you got to be willing to tell people. That's one of those things about entrepreneurship that I don't know a way around. I think there's lots of different ways to build a business and lots of different things. But when I hear people who are really struggling to tell people that they have a business and what they do, I think that that's something that I personally, I'm just like, now you want to pick something you're happy to talk to people about all the time
Mhm.
because that's when it works.
Yeah.
And if you feel weird about it, you can work on it. But the people who are most successful, I think that they're happy to tell people all the time. You don't have to tell everybody, but you want to be able to.
You want to tell everybody pretty much what you do. I mean, hang your sign for sure verbally. What have you found? What are good ways that you found to market your coaching business?
To market my coaching business, I am a big believer, and this is changing very rapidly. But I'm a big believer in creating optimized content. So I write articles to answer the questions that people are looking for. And so that can be for adulting, that can be about burnout, that can be about overwhelm, that can be feeling like you're not enough, loneliness, finding friends, transitions, life change. For step parents, it was a lot of stuff about, I'm not sure if I like my stepkids. I'm not sure if my stepkids like me. What if I made a mistake? Stuff like that. So I would write detailed articles with tools that would answer the question that people would pop into Google. Google's not working the way it used to because of chat and all of the AI things. So that is shifting, but it is still what I do. And then the other thing is making friends and putting myself in places where other people have audiences. So speaking, podcasts, conferences, groups, any place that I can find other people who have an audience to introduce myself to.
Absolutely, absolutely. We run parallel marketing strategies for sure. When I first started my company, I started writing a column in the Coast newspaper here, which is a news group here. And what it did for me was it was a Dear Kathy. It made me write 500 words a week, and it answers the people's questions. So then I know this is what they need to know, right? So
That's great.
yeah, it worked wonderfully. And that was back in the day when Google loved unique content, you know,
Yeah.
and unique content was the big reward with Google ranking for SEO. So that worked out nicely for on all counts. But I think if you're listening out there and you're trying to, you're considering how to market, I think the big takeaway from what Amy said is to listen to the questions that you're receiving,
Yeah.
write around the questions. And even if you consider you're not a good writer or author, it doesn't really matter. Put down your thoughts on paper about what you would suggest based on the situation that you're
Yep.
hearing. What is your solution? And then obviously you can get so many ways to edit into a better article at this day and age. Doesn't really matter, but it's your unique response to their question that's going to be what's going to make you stand out among everybody else who might be doing similar things to you. Although, with
Yes.
Amy, I've never run to a step parent coach. So
I know. There was no one, when I tell people that, so as a new business, I'm sure you tell people this all the time. It's like niche down, niche down, niche down, niche down. But when I told people when they were like, what are you going to do? I was like, I'm going to coach step parents. Nobody said that to me. They were like, well, that is niched. So I didn't get that. But the issue you can, when you niche specifically, it has to be something that people will self-select, right? And that you can find them. You have to be able to find them. And that is a struggle with different groups of parents and adults. And people rarely walk into a room online or real with a name tag that's like, right, exactly. Hi, I'm an unhappy step parent. That's not how people introduce themselves. And so putting myself in that spot is there. But yeah, that is, I think that it is still the answer. I know there's a lot of flexibility and confusion right now in the online business space about matching potential clients with clients. It's weird because I hear it from both business owners and also clients. People are struggling to find answers for things that they have questions on, and people who have answers are struggling to find the people asking the questions. So I think it's going to work itself out in time, and we will all go on and be happy and joyous.
yeah, that's weird that you're finding people that can't find answers, maybe for their specific
Their
thing.
specific thing, exactly, right? So, like it's really, it's like, hey, there's never been more information easily accessible ever before. And yet sometimes you don't get the answer that you want. And my theory is that's because everything is so niched and so siloed that you have to already know the way to phrase your question. And
Right.
then the struggle for that is that you don't when you're first starting. So I don't know about where you live, but where I live, to give it a very super hyper local context, in Miami where I live, everything is subdivided into all these itty bitty little towns, right? And so it might be coded for one of the names of the towns. You're like, hey, where do I buy shoes in Miami? And you get like, answers that are 150 miles away. But if
Right.
you were to know that you were like, where do I buy shoes in Coral Gables? Then you would get the four answers
Yeah.
that you were looking for. And I think it's, I don't know, it's things are not matching up. Like, so back in the day, corporate run, everybody knew it was happening. Now, you walk out and you're like, what happened? How come nobody told me? It's like there's a break in the system.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Are you in Coral Gables?
I'm in Coconut Grove, which is right next to Coral
Oh,
Gables.
yeah, I love Coconut Grove. That's
Yeah.
great. Awesome. Okay, cool. So, okay, I have to ask you, organizing. You obviously have created some organizing systems in the past for yourself.
I have.
What's your favorite organizing hack? What do you use to, well, let's talk. Well, your kids are older now. What did you use calendar wise? How did you do the family calendar back in the day?
All right. So, truthfully, true story, true Amy story, the family calendar got me and my husband into marital counseling at one point because it was not working. And this was before the Google Calendar existed. So, we were using, oh gosh, I wonder if I can remember any of the names of the calendars. I don't. But we were using pay for systems. But every week, I just felt like I was being sandbagged by whatever was happening on the weekend. Like, so I would think I would know what was going on, and my husband would come over and be like, "Oh, the big kids have these plans," and I was like, "I don't, what? I didn't know any of that," and it really left me feeling like destabilized and not empowered and just horrible about my life choices. And I, truthfully, honestly, like I was blaming his ex-wife. I thought that she was not giving him the information. She knows this story and I have permission to share it. I even wrote a book that includes this story. That is not the case. She was giving him the information. He was just not doing anything with it. And
Ah,
so we were fighting and we ended up working with a therapist who would sit us down, and he offered calendars that we would do, but all required that he had to be willing to give the information. And he would say every single week, sure, I'll do it. I'll do it. And you know what he didn't do, Kathy? He did not ever. Still to this day, this is like a problem in our family. And so I got very good at really communicating my calendar. And back in the day, I printed out like an Excel manual spreadsheet of the things that repeated every single, pasted it up
so
on the
hard.
calendar on the refrigerator, right? That was round one. People made fun of it. And then I will never forget, my stepson looked up and he's like, oh, well, you'll be over here because it says that there. And I was like, it's working. Would you look at that? Today, I live and die by the Google Calendar.
Oh, me too, girl.
Yes.
Google Calendar rocks.
I
Yeah.
live and die by the Google Calendar. My husband does not. He is on Outlook. The way we fix this is
Oh,
we
dear.
bypassed him. We bypassed him. He still thinks that the Google Calendar is like magic. About 6 years ago, we were looking for a new house, and I gave the realtor access to my calendar for scheduling showings and things like that. And my husband was mystified, mystified. How they always knew when I was available, and then they like, and he didn't. He just thought it was totally magic.
Oh my God.
But yeah, so I can't say that I have a magic solution to that, because in our family, what actually happened was communication, that he was the weak spot. And so we had a set time on Wednesday and Thursday where he and I would touch base, like what is coming up.
Mhm.
And the kids learned, and his ex-wife learned, that anything important had to be communicated directly to me, and they were old enough to do that. It's not
Mhm.
a great communication. You're not supposed to put the pressure on the kids. So, but they learned to bypass their dad so that I knew where they wanted me to be. And anything that I wasn't told, I gave myself permission to not do. So if I found out on a Friday about like a birthday party or an award ceremony, and it overlapped with like nap time for one of the babies or swim lessons or something else that was scheduled, I no longer took that personally. I was like, no, nobody told me. And so I give myself permission to protect my time and not feel badly about it and not do it.
I love that. I love that. And I love the fact that Google Calendar, you can share it with everybody.
Oh my God, yes. No, people put
Everybody
stuff on.
sees everybody's everybody, everything.
Yes, I really, I mean, if Google Calendar, I can't, I mean, I pay for it through Google Ads, click on the ads, please, everybody shop with Google Ads, because Google Calendar is the best product
Yeah.
ever, and it's free. I don't even know.
It is. I know. It's an amazing, amazing tool. Yeah, back in the day, it was like, let's have family meetings. I would counsel my
Yes,
people, let's have a family meeting on Sunday. Let's figure out who has to go where and when and how and who's going to be the driver. And
yes.
and without the family meetings, then the calendar will fall apart. I can't even imagine how you handled that back in the day, the Excel spreadsheet. That
We had
must have been
Excel
so tedious.
spreadsheet,
Oh my
and
gosh.
we had, a scheduled mandatory meeting that was the whole point was, and sometimes it was a phone call, the idea of a family
Right.
meeting can get oversold, but it was
Yeah.
an intentional scheduled conversation that the point was we need to know what's happening on the weekend, who needs to be where, who has an orthodontist appointment, all kind of things like that, because yeah, it's a
Yeah.
lot.
It is a lot. It's a lot. You're a brave, brave woman.
Thank you.
We talked about reflecting back, but we didn't know what we didn't know when we were 18. If you had to tell your 18-year-old self something now, what advice would you give the little Amy that's just starting out on life? What would you
Oh,
tell her?
so yeah, I mean, the thing that I would give 18-year-old Amy was pretty bold and had lots of ideas about what she wanted to do. And I was really courageous. And I think that was good. I think that when it comes to big life decisions that we make, I think that the advice I would give myself is to really think about why this is the best decision for me and my future life, in as much as you can, because sometimes we get wrapped up in the way life is supposed to look, like the plan we're supposed to have. I need to be married by 30. I need to have kids by this age. I need to own a house. I need to be this level in my job, all of those things. And that's fine. I think all of that is good, but it can put you in a spot where you might make a decision that is just based on this is the person or the house or the job that's in front of me in this moment. And it might be the best decision, but it might not. And one of the things specifically with step parents, because I had a choice, right? I could have walked away from that relationship. And people did tell me that it was going to be hard. They told me. I didn't listen. I did. It's not that I didn't listen. I just didn't know what it meant. So, like, specifically, my mom looked at me and she was like, "This sounds like a lot." And I took it as a challenge, Kathy. It was like, "You don't think I'm up for this? I'm a hard worker. I can do whatever I want." And I don't regret the decisions I made, but I can see how if I had taken longer to step back and say, why do I think that this is my best future? Why do I think that this relationship is the best for me? That I might have done things in a different sequence. Maybe not, but I
Yeah.
might have.
Yeah. How old were you when you married into your first set of stepkids?
So I was 25 when we started dating, because I didn't know any better. We bought a house together before we got married. It worked out for me. and I'm really, really lucky, but I've talked to hundreds of people that it doesn't work out. It's not a great decision to make.
Right.
And then we were married, I was 27, I think, and 29 is when I added the kids.
Wow. Okay.
So yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
good for you. I mean, it's an amazing journey that you've been through. Absolutely. And what you offer, I'm just so glad to have you on the podcast, because I know that I have step parent audience out there who are probably wondering what to do. And also, my audience are entrepreneurs. So, we've given some tips. Amy and I both are like, do Google Calendar. I just finished a Google Masterclass. It's like Google Calendar is the most important thing that you can do, is to integrate your life with that for sure. So I know you probably have a free, valuable resource that people can download. So let's talk a little bit about that before we wind up.
So sure. So if you are a step parent, I do have a step parent specific resource, which is a Stepparent Success Kit, which is based on, I wrote a book called Blend, which is about the 10 things I think I learned in 20 years of being a step parent. And it's a quick highlight of those things. So that's available for free at stepparentsuccessschool.com. And for everybody who's not a step parent, all the other people, I have something called a Serenity Scorecard at imperfectadulting.com. And it's a quiz where you go through and you just score different things, and it helps you figure out which area of your life might be stressing you out. And it's interesting because sometimes it's the pile of stuff on your desk, and other times you take the Serenity scorecard and you're like, oh wow, it's not actually this, it's that I don't feel like I have control over my meals or whatever it is. So that's available at imperfectadulting.com.
I love that. So we'll put the links below in the show notes. If you're listening it on YouTube, it'll also be on the YouTube notes. So you can grab those free resources. That's so super generous. And it's something that everybody needs, actually, is where do you need serenity?
That's right. Exactly. I love that I call it Serenity. When I named it, I was totally thinking of that old commercial, the Calgon commercial, where it's like, Calgon, take me away. And I don't know why. I don't know. That is exactly where that came from.
I love that. Well, I love the title of your book, Blend, too. I think that's just a really great title. You're a good marketer, girl.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So is there anything that I should have asked you that you really wanted to talk about before we close out?
No, I think you asked some really enlightening questions, and I loved having this conversation.
Absolutely. It's been fun. Okay, everybody, grab the download. And until next time, we will see you next week. Every week, you can catch a podcast on Organize and Energize the Podcast, and we will see you there. And by the way, if you like it and you see it on YouTube, wherever you see it, please give me a thumbs up. Please give me a good review. I ask all my podcast guests to review other podcasts. Let's grow the channel and spread the word, especially if you know people who are step parents who are struggling. Make sure to pass on this video to your friends. They will appreciate it, and they will thank you. Thanks, Amy. It's been.
Thank you, Kathi.
Thank you so much. Hey, thanks for listening to this podcast. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you want to hear more, feel free to subscribe on the platform of your choice. Also, if you feel so inclined, I would truly appreciate a good rating from you to me. Have a stellar day.